Alright, so due to technical issues and what have you, this is my third attempt at recording this because halfway through my mic just kind of decided that it didn't want to exist. Um, but oh, okay, that's very different. Okay, so I will have to include a section of my other video. When I first started this, it spawned me down here, and I just dropped like a couple of a bunch of feet, and then I hit the ground, and the helicopter. I looked up, and it was up in the air. So that bug normally I did this twice, and I started right here. I'll include the snippet of that video here. You know what? Let me just go ahead and cut to that. All right. Level start. Bit of a drop there. So that's the first. Maybe lower your. Oh, no, that was deliberate. That's a helicopter up there. Never mind. I like that. That's cool. Maybe lower that a little bit. The rope. I don't know. It's cool. I like it. Another thing that I'm noticing is. Ooh, that's rough. You've got a lot of. So, having seen that, you can kind of tell that I kind of. Okay, and then there's this cutscene. That makes a little bit more sense. At first, the helicopter was just kind of up there. So, that would be bug number one. Just something that's off the top of my head. I'm not sure if I'm the first person to discover that the helicopter actually lands and shuts off, which is really cool. But is a thing. Liking all of the completed assets that you got in here. The second bug that I would point out is that these windows could be lowered. Them being so high, sure, it makes it a little bit more difficult on the player, but it also makes the room seem slightly unrealistically proportioned, especially with this lower window down here. Most of the time when you walk into a room, all of the windows are going to be at the same height. And the fact that these ones are up high, they actually make this table look a lot taller than it is. I don't know, maybe the table is pretty darn tall. But anyway, not only that, but it also makes it really difficult for the player to get the feedback. I know when you hit the button, you get the cutscene. But I'll point this out a few times during this playthrough. That you can kind of give your players a little bit of whiplash here. Because your players will, as you're doing this, there's all these cutscenes, all these cuts, you know, and your camera is constantly jumping around. It can kind of disorient the player. I know that I was disoriented every time it would jump back to me after this. It took me a second. But if you just drop those windows down and made it so the player looking through the windows can see the gate, when you interact with a button, you should just be able to look out the window and see this rather than doing the cutscene thing. To be fair, I never really figured out the cutscene thing in the first place. So there's that, but honestly, is neither here nor there. Okay. Oh, I just noticed this too, that at some point in the factory, it goes suddenly from noon to like midnight. Maybe having on this entry point, maybe have I would say have the daylight not at noon and have it like a lot farther towards the evening. So that when you walk out and it's dark, it's realistic. So this also cutscene here gave me whiplash because I'm clipping through an entire wall. Something that I might recommend is you move that trigger point for that to the other side of this door right here, so that you're not launching your players halfway across your map. I also noticed that these combat zones, I think somebody else might have already mentioned it, but they can get broken pretty quick. See, I'm still inside the combat zone. These guys are ignoring me. I can just sit here and line up a shot. I'm a really bad shot in the first place, but I can line it up, and I'm not even hitting him anyway, because they're not registering as existing for whatever reason. Same in this room. I had the same issue. Okay, so another one. This is right where I would trigger that, and so instead of clipping through the wall, you just go up, and then you're looking down. Another thing that I noticed is that the player can't do this encounter without being discovered. Unless I get really lucky. I tried it like 5 times, and every time, yeah, I get to here and I'm sighted. Not that it really matters, because he kind of keeps himself stuck over there, but at the same time, all of your zombies are broken. At the same time, it's not really a stealth. Like, I'm not sneaking around anybody. I'm just relying on the brokenness of the zombie to let me just walk in and take what I want. Okay. So this puzzle also took me a little bit to kind of figure out, because I kept trying to ride the conveyor belt through here, and I'm like, it doesn't work. And so in my very first time through, I didn't get any farther than this, because I thought that was what you're supposed to do, and I'm like, oh, maybe you need to resize those so that people can actually get into those areas, which isn't really at all the case. Part of what made me think that I needed to go that way was because that's the only lit thing in the entire room. And okay, sure, it's red, but we haven't really had any other interaction with anything that's specifically red as being deactivated yet in the level. So, I mean, yeah, that's kind of a universal thing, but also it could have been like I took it initially as a guidepost. Because I was like, oh, hey, red, I'm supposed to go this way. You know, there's a light. It's the only light in the entire room. I'm supposed to go that way. And so maybe have this. Also, this light wasn't lit when I first walked in. So maybe have that light lit initially. Maybe it's not the only light in the... Wait, is there light on now? Why is there light on? There wasn't light a minute ago. Maybe there was and I just didn't notice it. Anyway, I'm having trouble putting this whole room together. It didn't really make a whole lot of sense. Eventually, I kind of figured it out. But it wasn't particularly apparent. Maybe if you were to add like some of those, like at an airport, you know, on the baggage carousels, you got those flaps that float down. That would kind of be like, hey, packages can go through here, but people can't, you know, and then maybe make it so that this texture is more obviously moving, or something. I don't know. But anyway, so yeah, that room took me quite a while. This area was kind of interesting, but also like there was blocking and there wasn't really anything to do or look at. There was nothing really eye-grabbing about it except for you just go around the thing. So this area here took me a while to figure out, because I was pretty straightforward. I was like, oh, so I push a button and then I have to, there's more buttons, so I just push all the buttons. But I didn't notice until I got to pushing this last button and it moved this down that was what was going on this whole time. So I'm just wandering around. I'm like, okay, push all the buttons, see what happens. And I didn't notice that those were moving. And so I was just kind of wandering around like, what is the point? Why am I pushing all of these buttons? So that would be another glitch slash bug. Not a glitch, but a bug that I would recommend looking into. Making sure that my mic is still working. Yes, it is. Yeah, last time my microphone ran out of battery, when I noticed it at the very end, I went to cancel the recording, and it was like, no battery, so that was annoying. Okay, so in here, puzzle is pretty straightforward, except for I want it to be red, so I need this one to be red. This one kind of reminds me, I've actually been playing Skyrim a little bit. It sort of reminds me of the Sigil Stone puzzle, where some of them, you move one of them and it toggles the next one over. Okay, so it also, this next area, it took me a really long time to realize that I could shoot them, because I tried from this angle, I tried to shoot them, and apparently now that's working. But it wasn't working at the time. I can't shoot these turrets, and I can't sneak by the turrets. Really, I'm not sure what the point in going that direction even really is. But all that we really need to do, I think, is grab this and put it over here. But okay, so maybe you can just do that and then sneak by the turrets after you wait for this to do its thing. But anyway, my point being that that whole back area doesn't really do anything, and then once you get into that bottom section over there, you can't really sneak past anything. Which is okay, it being a side area, you don't really need... Critical path needs to be snuck through, that's it. But I wasn't sure, there was no, like, loot, or I couldn't find anything of value or any real reason to go that way in the first place. And I couldn't kill the turret. I don't know if that's been mentioned by another comment or not yet, but anyway. Gonna need this coming up. So again, this is another one of those cutscenes. You kind of get a little bit of a whiplash, being yerked around. But here's a thing about this. I didn't notice this the entire first time around because everything's pointed the other direction. So I noticed it, but what I did was I grabbed the box and I ran that direction because this console is facing the wonky direction. And yeah, it's a great big yellow button, but when you have a box in front of you, like for example, I'm pulling this box, you know, you don't, unless you're looking for it, you're not gonna see it there, you know, because you're like, oh, I have to take these, I have to go and find a train to load it into. And so what I did was I took it all the way through here, out here, and I took it all the way, looking for a train that I can get into, looking for a train that oh look, this train has headlights on. So that means that draws my attention to this one. So then I just came in here, and I just threw the crate into here, and I am like, oh, okay, cool, that's great. And then I ran back to get the second one, and when I ran back to get the second one was when I noticed the button back there. So at which point I had to come all the way back over here and get the get the crate again, and then I didn't understand what exactly the thing did. Because the crate wasn't sitting on there, it was in here. And I think I got a clip of that I'll show you. If I'm remembering correctly, it was in here too. But so anyway, this whole section kind of took me a while to kind of get figured out what I was supposed to do here. And then I was like, okay, so now how do I get this all figured out? And I saw that this was blocked, so I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go into the control panel, the control room, and figure out why, or try and open that up. And I realized that this is a perfectly safe place to stand because your zombie can't get through the door. And so I had run around, I collected all of the zombies, and I just sat here and I killed each of them in 2 shots. Just lined up, waited for them to sit there for a second, lined it up. There we go. And I just was able to kill all of the competition. And this dude just kind of stays behind this counter, and so he's not even really an issue. Which might be by design. I don't know. I also noticed that, and you could still be working on this, this is a very bright white porcelain to the point where it's brighter than this light up here, I think. Just a thought. You have very shiny toilets. My compliments to whoever's been upkeeping this facility in the few hundred years or however long it's been since the decline of civilization. Lots of health. And so I also didn't notice at first because of the light. If you maybe were to activate these signal lights here, it would be a little bit more obvious. When I activated this terminal, I didn't realize that I was... What? Okay, anyway, I didn't realize that I was opening and closing that gate too, or opening that gate too. Also, that is on a play from start, and it doesn't reclose itself, so every time I activate this, it just opens like that. Just slightly weird. I mean, not completely, but slightly. Anyway, and so then I'm running around, I'm trying to figure out what the heck I'm supposed to do now, because all of the lights on this train are off still. So I come over here, I'm like, oh, this train, all the lights are on. This is good. Okay, so this is where I'm supposed to be going. Hit this button. Rusted. That doesn't do anything. There's this shiny thing. Shiny thing. Or, oh, the train key, sorry. Okay, there we go. That was good. Now this is all on. And just point. Oh, nope, it's fully lit up. It's ready to go. Okay, that's good. And then I get on the train. And that's a trigger volume when I walk up here, and then that concludes the level. So a couple of issues overall. Great level. I like some of your finalized assets that you guys have in there. It looks really good. I'm really curious to see how it looks in the alpha. Also really curious to see if the train stops. So I just reloaded. That's... Oh, I'm shooting too. That's fun. Anyway, good level. Couple of things, but other than that, I'm, like I said, really looking forward to the next iteration.